We are live.
All right. Are they live? Are they live?
Yeah.
Okay, we're live. Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn I can't stop my Eggy Ederton, whatever his last name is.
3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Jones.
Yeah, we'll find
It's
out.
been a while.
I mean,
yeah.
You're on probation. We'll see how this episode goes, and we'll find out if we'll have you back.
I gotta reach. I'm back at the audition process again.
It's like when they were looking for a permanent guest host on the Tonight Show, and they kept trying, like Joan Rivers out, and then occasionally they'd stick in McLean Stevenson for no fucking reason.
Oh, is he a golfer? Who's that? Who's McLean Stevenson?
He was the guy who starred in MASH.
Oh, okay.
From MASH.
I didn't watch
He was
MASH.
Colonel, the first Colonel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm the McLean Stevenson.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, I've missed you. Paul, Corey, how are things going?
Could be better. We've been watching lots of Family Ties from week to week, and so it could be better.
It could certainly be better.
How are you, Scott? You've been on vacation. You grew your hair
doing
out.
Great. Doing fantastic.
Is that a lava lamp that you have?
That is a lava lamp that was given to Henry.
Oh.
From our next door. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you live next door to Kato Kalin? Who has a lava lamp?
Did Kato have a lava lamp?
Well, he just seems like a hippie kind of pot guy. So I think.
I was thinking today, like when we first started this, I had a newborn and a different job. And this podcast was so easy to do. I was like, remember when we did episodes back to back? We were able to do that.
I did reference last week. I'm sure you're just way too busy to listen to our trite little podcast.
Oh, I've been listening.
Oh, you have? Well, in that case, I'll just slither on off screen then. I did reference you training bra shopping for Maisie last week. I believe I did say that. I felt bad afterwards, so I just wanted to come clean.
I appreciate it, Corey. I appreciate it. I after watching this episode, because it's been a little while, I totally understand the aggression, and it's due deserved. And at the same time, I feel like I can jump back into the show, and I have missed nothing.
I will say that I don't believe you've missed a single good episode of Family Ties.
I was disappointed. I missed the Tom Sawyer Huck Finn doubleheader. Because I remember that one as a kid, and I was remembering like, this is just weird. And now it seems more, and you guys did such a great job of making it so much more relevant for today. Like in the 80s, I thought it felt very dated, and maybe that's because I was like 6, 7 years old. And you guys actually, it's like, wow, this actually is a very relevant. No, it's poorly done.
I want to accept that compliment and say that I believe that you're right. Paul and I do have a certain chemistry.
I feel like I fucked that up.
Could you shut the fuck up, Scott? The two of us have a chemistry that I think really can't be sort of replicated by putting any other people in. And that's why you're back to the fucking audition process. So respect the audition process, Scott. Paul, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think you're doing a wonderful job, Corey. I'll jump in as need be, but I appreciate your care and attention.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we got off on the right foot and that you understood the ground rules, Scott. We live in the same city. I know where you live.
You do know where I live.
Mm-hmm. I like this as a good cop, bad cop situation.
I know you never thought you'd be the good cop, did you, Paul?
Never ever.
Oh, Jesus. What amazes me is like I want to hear what the conversations were like before you guys went live with recording an episode.
I think if we started to touch upon the subject, we would often say, or Paul would shut me up and say, "No, save it for the podcast."
Oh, good, you saved everything for the podcast.
Save it.
Good.
Let it spill out naturally.
There's no need to hide it.
As this season has dragged on, I try to talk less before we start, just so that way I don't run out of things to say, because I hate every episode more than the last.
It's more than likely that we will skip over, like a scene and like just describe the scene and say, okay, it's the reunion, and then talk about something else. And
I noticed that.
And then one line the next scene, and we'll move it along that way. Because to parse these repetitive storylines that we've seen over and over again on tons of sitcoms that don't shed a single shred of light on anything new is quite tiring. You wouldn't know that, but it is. It's quite tiring.
From what, conservatively, how many episodes do you guys, out of the course of our podcast, how many episodes do you think I've missed?
Well, it's been more recent than all time. How much would you say, Paul? Why don't you give a conservative estimate?
I would say between 20 and 30 at this point.
That's what I'm thinking. Closer to 30, probably.
That's it, 20, 25. I was 25.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious.
And how many, Paul? You know what the number is, don't you?
I think we're at 148 or 149.
Sorry. Every time I just
save it.
Have to off.
We have another season, Corey. Save it.
How long have we been doing it? That's a good question. When did we premiere?
I think 2015.
So 3 years?
Yeah. No. It's been 3 years. Oh, that's that makes me feel kind of sad.
Hey, let's gossip about somebody you know about even longer than that. Did you all get like a text message from Matt Merchant today?
No.
Are you shitting me? I'm the only piece of shit that did?
No! Tell us.
I got to get my phone. Speak amongst yourselves for a moment. I'll get my phone.
Well, as Corey does that, this is what season 6, episode 24, The Boys in the Band.
Yeah, the Boys Next Door.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was mixing it up with like 3 different plays.
And The Boys Next Door is the name of a play, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it came out in like 1986, and it was about 4 mentally handicapped men who live in like a public housing or like a halfway house or whatever it was at the time.
I think
who wrote it.
I forget the name. Tom Price or something like that.
I just remember throughout my high school career, I must have seen 3 different productions of that done by high schools.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Because everybody likes to play mentally handicapped people because, it's like it seems like you're really good acting, and in reality, you're making fun of them.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
And to give it to high schoolers?
Mine. This is what I got from Matt Merchant today.
Okay.
Hey, man. Totally random and self-serving message here. I'm doing stand-up comedy these days and got to do a fun set yesterday, trying to parlay it into possible opportunity. In my grandest delusion, you like what you see, and I hear you're going on tour with insert famous comedian here. In my more humble, realistic dreams, you get a good giggle for the day. Hope life is being kind.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
A YouTube clip of himself doing stand-up at the Ice House. And he said, in his grandest illusion, in his greatest, you see, he never says anything clearly, and that is the sign of a dreadful writer. He mucks everything up with too much verbiage.
Yeah.
And what he's trying to say is, in my greatest dream, you watch this clip and you say out loud, I'm going on tour with Jerry Seinfeld, and I want Matt Merchant to open for me. In his more humble, realistic dreams, I simply watch. I spend a moment and watch his clip.
React to this.
What to his?
To his stand-up bit.
So yeah, how do we watch a stand-up bit together though? We can't all watch it together.
Find a way.
It's why can't he just say, "Hey, I did a bit at the Ice House. Just let us know what you thought. Wanted to share it with everybody."
And why did I have to get it as a text message? Why couldn't I
that's kind of weird too.
post it on fucking Facebook like every other old man?
I've ended friendships over people I've ended friendships with people who have sent me links in a text message.
Oh, I have a former student from Australia who does this. And the next time he does it, I'm actually going to send him a message saying, "Hey man, you really don't know me well enough to do this." What he does is he puts a whole bullshit posting about himself and tags me and every other instructor he's ever had, hoping that we're important enough in Los Angeles that him tagging us gets posted on our page and all these important people see his rancid, ugly face. He looks like an alcoholic and he's got a bulbous nose. And there's something really, really ugly and disgusting about his mouth. And he just looks like someone who has bad breath. You ever see someone who just looks like they have bad breath? It's impossible to look at someone and know they have a bad breath, but you can do it sometimes. You just go, wow, I don't want to get close to that mouth.
No, Corey, living in New York City and riding the subway every day, I've never seen anyone who looks like they have bad breath. You guys live in LA, the proverbial land of milk and honey. the Beach Boys wrote like penthouse forums into songs about the girls in California. It's full of some pretty people.
Subway at rush hour, face to face with a man who hasn't brushed his teeth since the Carter administration.
Meanwhile, Lou Reed wrote songs about waiting for a heroin dealer.
Have we finished the show yet? Are we done with it? Have we started?
Oh, yeah, that's right. We got to talk about this piece of shit. Okay.
Yeah, Bryant, cut away. Cut whatever you need to here.
Cut whatever you need to. He means, Brian, cut whatever you need to from this Family Ties bit that's coming up.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So let's jump into it. So we start off again every episode. You guys can confirm this. Andy has something to do at the kitchen table. This time he's selling raffle tickets for a trip to Mexico.
That is correct. We're about 4, 5, 6 episodes in a row right now where every opening is the same. Although this is the first time, I believe. Well, he's been with Alex before. Usually it's still Jennifer is still raising him. But other than that, yeah, it's always one of the kids.
Now, I've never done a school fundraiser before as like a parent or stuff like that. As a school, if you're trying to raise money, do you want to pay a lot of overhead on your prize? Like, do you want to like spend what would probably amount in 1988 to like a $500 to a $1,500 prize and then not be able to make enough money on all of the raffle tickets that you sell?
I guess you're right. What's the price? Trip to Mexico? Is that what it is?
Yeah, from Columbus. That seems like it would be pretty expensive.
Yeah, it would be.
The only thing I can think
you could give some cookies or something. That could be a prize.
Here's Marge's cookies. And the only thing that it could work is if someone like donated the trip, like some parent worked at the airline or a travel agency and donated it.
You know who could do that? The rich guy that comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that could have been a plot point where Robert Klein's character was like, you know what? Hey, I'll pay for a trip to Mexico.
Yeah, already you're making the show better, Paul.
And it also, he would have been trying to ingratiate himself more to Elise by going for her youngest child and doing something very sweet that they couldn't afford. Stephen could have been more jealous.
Yes, that would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm. But instead, what we get is this hunk of duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get this is the past couple episodes, Scott. The Family Ties comedy has taken some sort of strange nosedive where they do things that just aren't real anymore, and it's like very cartoonish, and I don't understand, like the logic just is always strange and not at all based in reality. And so what we have here is that Andy touches Alex's wallet,
That's
and
correct.
a car alarm goes off, and we don't know where the sound is coming from. Like,
well, that is one of the problems.
Yeah.
It made no sense because it clearly wasn't coming from the wallet.
yeah,
1987,
88.
88 that we're in, and it's not coming from the wallet. It's coming from
Up above, yeah.
above the studio somewhere in the kitchen, for all intents and purposes, as part of reality. And yet we know where in the kitchen. It didn't make sense. And so it pulls us so far out of reality at the very top of the show. Now, I will say that I didn't realize at the time that it was the setup for a joke.
Yeah, they made it sound like that wallets with alarms like that were a thing. Like, existed, and everyone had one.
Right. Instead of elevating it to making fun of Alex for, oh my God, Alex, is that your wallet alarm?
Right. Because everyone, oh yeah, the wallet alarm. Of course, that's what goes off.
And by the way, it could have been smaller. It really could have been a smaller sound. It didn't have to.
Oh yeah, it was like a house alarm going off.
Yeah, it was just big, and you know, and the payoff later on isn't that good that we needed it.
Yeah.
In fact, I was hating on the episode so much by the time the payoff came, it was really sort of irritating.
Yeah, that's typical.
Yeah.
The only thing I could say about this first scene is, Steven stands there drinking a glass of orange juice. I didn't see him get it, but all of a sudden there's a shot of him with a glass of OJ in his hand. I was like, okay, at least they have that. And I felt, okay, once again, it's like Valium to me. Like, okay.
And the glass that he had it in, it looked really small. It was like a thimble full of orange juice.
My grandma used to have really small juice glasses. I remember, like they were really juice glasses are smaller than water glasses. However, they were really small, more like just a skosh larger than a shot glass, than like a tall shot glass.
Yeah. And now that you know how much sugar there is in juice, that's pretty smart. You don't need a lot of juice.
No, it's going to help you if you need to pick me up. Just a little bit will help you.
Yeah.
And out at this point that there's a high school reunion coming up, and Roger Erdman, who goes by the nickname Eggy Erdman, or certainly Elise remembers him by the name Eggy Erdman, and he is the boy next door that lived next door to the Donnellys when Elise was growing up. And so I don't know why it says boys next door in the title, but I'll give him a pass on that, because I can just argue about all the ridiculous things in this episode, including the fact that we refer to Eggy Erdman for a good, I'd say 10, 12 minutes without giving us an explanation as to why his nickname is Eggy Erdman. Because I kept hearing Iggy Erdman, which is a much more common name, and yet it sounded like there was a Midwestern thing going on, and my ear was like, what are they saying? What name are they saying? And Alex P. Keaton, of course, remarks, is he Roger Erdman of Erdman Enterprises? What is he worth, $75 million?
Yeah, they have him be this rich dude, but as we'll see in the episode, they do nothing with Alex to like follow him like a puppy. That's it. He doesn't throw his money around. He doesn't try to use it. It's really strange that they even had to make him like this millionaire.
It is so bizarre that I say on, but I'm going to bring it up now. We get Alex P. Keaton's personality as being like week after week, sociopath, narcissistic sociopath. All of a sudden, he is a penurious miser who's obsessed. I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but to focus solely on him being obsessed with great wealth, and for a comical effect in the I guess it's the greed is good era. I don't know. It's to me, it's like, wow, that's not a good person.
Yeah. I mean, it's of a certain mindset that you see, for the people that voted for a billionaire who is going to cut taxes for rich people.
You're right, where there are some people who equate wealth with greatness.
Exactly. And we've been taught that since, specifically, I would say, the Reagan era, is that we are a meritocratic country, and that richness is the religion, or money is the religion that we swim in, to mix metaphors. And so the people who are the richest are the people who are the best, or the most morally sound, or whatever. It all ties up together. And so Alex, even though he wants to be rich, when he finds a rich person, he exalts them in a way that one would a saint or a religious figure.
Right.
To me, this is another nuance of a sociopath.
Yeah.
That he puts moneyed people on such a high pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I was watching the episode and I was thinking to myself, he has longed for great wealth from a very, very young age. And I was thinking, as I am at an almost old age, I don't think I have ever longed for great wealth. I don't think that has ever been a goal of mine. Probably, and of course, the smart person will go, of course not, you became an artist. Why would that be a goal? It's usually not of artists. But it was never, were you ever obsessed with money, that was a goal of yours? Great wealth?
No. I can't.
Great people who are wealthy, and that doesn't make you happier. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't make people happier.
Yeah, you start seeing kids even at the high school level and college, and they talk about jobs like, this is going to be good because I'm going to make a lot. I'm going to make money. And they don't mention anything that they like about it, or what they see in it, or any altruistic aspects of it. And it's just like, this will be good because I'll make money.
Now,
and they don't think past that at all.
What do you feel passionate about is the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's what you need to pursue. And the money should come to almost anyone who's successful. So that's just, you work hard, you can make some money. But to Alex, it's like the be-all, end-all to have money. And having Roger Erdman around sort of sets off something in Alex where he's like a lapdog around him.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen this over since the beginning with Uncle Ned, when Uncle Ned would come to visit, and Alex would act the same way.
Yeah, it's true. And of course, we haven't even gotten to the fact that Roger Erdman enters, and first of all, right before Roger Nerdman enters, Skippy enters tripping over the back door, and then moments later, Roger Erdman enters doing the exact same trip as Skippy, which tells us everything that Elise was saying earlier in the scene, that he is the ultimate nerd. So, in other words, Roger Erdman was Skippy to Elise as Skippy is to Mallory in present day. Although, God forbid, they should have examined that dynamic in this episode.
Oh my God, that would have been great.
Guys, I agree with what you're saying, but I also have to point out the boys next door are Eggy and Skippy.
Which would be, I get it now, but the thing is that
they never pointed that out, really.
He's just kind of
no, they
there.
don't. They don't.
It doesn't heighten the title.
Skippy just, okay, I'll buy that. No, I like that if they'd only put Skippy into either the A plot or the B plot.
Right.
Yes.
You have, okay, so Roger, it would work if Roger comes over with these feelings for Elise. Skippy's dealing with some feelings from Mallory, or something's going on between them. And so Skippy goes to Roger because he's had a similar thing. And so they bond over that, and Roger realizes some things about himself. And then that's your story right there.
Instead, we get the storyline that we were dreading and yet expecting at the same time. And it just goes absolutely nowhere. But Roger Erdman is played by the wonderful, wonderful stand-up comic from the 70s and 80s. And he hasn't really worked a lot in current day, has he? I don't remember.
Not really.
Doing a lot. I'm sure he's still doing something, but he's a real New York City icon, Robert Klein. I remember him, of course, from the Tonight Show and all kinds of talk shows, and then oddly enough, one of the seminal shows that I ever worked at when I was managing Broadway theaters was They're Playing Our Song. So I got to open They're Playing Our Song with Robert Klein. So I got to work with him in his theater for the first year that he was in the show, which was
wow.
It was fun to watch. I mean, it was a fun show. It was a Neil Simon show, and it was Lucy Arnaz, and that's where I had my little friendship with Lucille Ball.
Wow. How was she?
Lucille Ball?
Yeah.
She was crazy. She was great.
That's awesome.
She was in her late 70s at the time, and I never told you the story about me sharing a scotch and a Crunch bar with her.
No.
So the way it was at the Imperial Theater in New York, which is on 45th Street, and was recently totally demolished from the inside for that Russian show, the one that Josh Groban was in. That was based upon something War and Peace. It was some War and Peace thing. Anyway,
really? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the Imperial. It's a wonderful Broadway theater. They're Playing Our Song open there, and it starred Robert Klein and Lucy Arnaz. It was basically a two-person musical. There was a chorus, but it was a chorus of 3 boys and 3 girls, and they just appeared sort of as doo-wops, as in various points of the show. But it was really a 2-person, and it was written by Neil Simon, music by Marvin Hamlish and Carol Bayer Sager, who were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. And it was basically the story of Marvin Hamlish and Carol Bayer Sager and what it's like for a lyricist and a composer to work together and have an antagonistic work together and be in love with each other at the same time.
Wow.
The idea of the show. So early in the run of the show, now the way the theater is set up is I managed the bars and the bars and the concessions, T-shirts and souvenir programs and all the liquor bars and candy and concessions. And there was a huge bar and concession area outside of the doors of the theater. So the audience, and it's one of the rare theaters that has a very long lobby. So on cold days, audiences could gather inside the lobby where there's a bar and concession area without actually going into the theater for quite some time. And it was heated, so people would gather there. So it was a winter time that the show was opening, and it was really cold, and the lobby was crowded, and Lucille Ball shows up with Gary Morton to see her daughter in the show. And she was in her late 70s, but she had carrot orange hair, and she stood out like a fucking sore thumb. And audience members were all freaking the fuck out. It was Lucy. For God's sakes, it's Lucy. So I had an office that was up in a wing of the theater on the 2nd floor, but you still didn't have to go into the theater. There was this grand marble staircase that took up to my office that I had upstairs. And in my office was all the stock for the theater, all of the liquor that we had stocked, all the candy, all the soda, everything was stocked up there. So I said to her, she was there, and I saw she was uncomfortable. She had a scotch in her hand that I had given her. She ordered a scotch. So she had a scotch on the rocks. And she said to me, oh my God, she saw people were starting to ask her for autographs. And she said, whispered, I didn't come here for me. I came here to see my daughter. And I said, come with me. And I took her upstairs into my office, and we sat down, and she sat there, and we talked for about 10 minutes until the theater was open. And she said, hey, what's all this candy up here? And I said, well, it's where we stock all the candy. And she goes, can I have a Crunch Bar? And I said, absolutely. We sat there and we split a Crunch Bar and talked for about 10 minutes. And then I was told that the theater was open because there's a sound that's made in the area that was a dinging sound. So I knew the theater was open. So I was able to walk her down and hand her off to the head usherette, who could discreetly bring her to her house seats and hide her. And every time she came to see Lucy afterwards, she asked for me. So did this repeatedly, where she would come to the theater and then we would go up to my office and I would give her a scotch and she'd have a candy bar and we would sit and we would talk. And
that's amazing. What'd you talk about? Like the old days and stuff?
I would ask her questions about, you know, about her show and the way it was filmed and what it was like when she was on Broadway and being a dancer and, you know, a lot of stuff about her and Lucy when they were young, when Lucy was young, because I know that mothers like to talk about their daughters and that's what she wanted to talk about. She wanted to talk about Lucy and Desi Jr.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And then the only topper of the whole story is, about 2 years later, I'm at a different theater where 42nd Street was. 42nd Street was started at the Winter Garden and then moved down to the Majestic, where Phantom has been for 27 years now. And so we were at the Majestic, and it's another theater with a huge, but this one, it's not keeping warm. It's once the doors open, huge 3-sided bar in the lobby. And everybody rushed in, but they all hung out in the lobby. And she came in to see 42nd Street, and she looked at me, and she did not know my name, but she said, "You, from there playing our song." And I said, and she said, "Oh my God, it's so good to see you." So she remembered who I was years later.
That's amazing.
Wow.
How did we get?
I don't want to talk about this show anymore.
How did we get up to? It was Robert Klein and Lucy Arnaz.
Yes.
So we're talking about Robert Klein.
Corey,
yeah.
I of all the stand-up comedians, like the classic stand-ups and stuff like that from like the 60s, and I have read about them. I've read about the history of stand-up and stuff like that. I hear people say that Robert Klein changed the face of stand-up in the 60s, where it was like a lot more intellectual and stuff like that. I've never heard any of his stand-up. Was he funny? What was his...
Really, really funny. I wouldn't miss him, I remember, in the 70s, before he became like a staple on the late night shows, and he was like popping up on like HBO Young Comedian specials, stuff like that. You know, and he was a guy, he was very casual. He would wear sweaters, you know, like shirts and sweaters. He was very preppy. He played the harmonica, clearly, in almost all of his stuff. He had some musical stuff. And that's just me reading. I'm sorry. He would play always some song. He would sing. But he definitely wasn't George Carlin. They were like the two at the same time. There was George Carlin, who was definitely a bit after he changed from being ultra conservative to ultra George Carlin, the writer that George Carlin became. I think Carlin really influenced Klein because Klein was a very good writer. His stuff was very well written, but it was observational. Think early Jerry Seinfeld.
Okay.
With a little bit more intensity to it. Like he would have these big build-ups and I remember, he was like when we first got HBO at our house. And it was my first exposure to anything stand-up, and the two names that kept popping up were Robert Klein and George Carlin. And I remember, because I loved anything that had to do with the harmonica at that time, like Blues Brothers, and Robert Klein was one of those things because he always would play the harmonica.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that the harmonica was a thing, and then I assumed it was because he plays it a few times in this episode.
And you know, it's funny, Scott. You texted us earlier saying about I think this was just this episode was an excuse for them to sing Splish Splash and play the harmonica, and I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, it seems like some fanboy wrote this for Robert Klein.
They touch, and there's a few times that they touch upon like Robert Klein bits. I have a few things noted where it's like, oh, this is like an old Robert Klein bit. This is something that he had in the stand up, and they just sort of folded it in. Like, okay. It was pandering to Robert Klein for some reason. I don't know why. It was almost like Gary David Goldberg was fanboying over Robert Klein the way that Alex P. Keaton was fanboying over Roger Erdman.
Oh, you're so right.
Now, I want to jump in and I have a theory. And I don't know if we've covered enough of the plot of stuff to, like, people might be confused as to what I'm saying. But like, this episode's a mess. The plot, as we said before, it seems like they want it to be a parallel between Skippy and Mallory and Elise and Eggy. That these two stories are similar, but what happens is, well, Michael J. Fox is a big star, and it's his show. And so when Robert Klein comes in to guest star on Family Ties, Michael J. Fox is going to get a scene with him. And before the end of Act 1, Alex B. Keaton and Eggy have this big scene together that goes nowhere, and it has the stuff that we're talking about right now that you said about the fanboying over how rich he is and everything and stuff like that. But it's also what we saw earlier in season 6 when I was all excited when Sonny Terry came in. Or I'm sorry, no, when Brownie McGee came in and and the blues performer, and Michael J. Fox gets a big scene with him where he gets to talk to him about blues and all this kind of stuff. And it's like in season 6, at this point in Family Ties, it's on Sunday nights. Things are obviously going downhill. And Gary David Goldberg is like, I'm going to bring in all the stars that I want. Each episode is just going to be fun, and we're going to do whatever we want. And you feel in this episode and the Brownie McGee episode in particular that, like, the plot doesn't matter in this show anymore. It's really just having fun and bringing in guest stars to see what they can get away with.
That's what I was thinking. This is typical stunt casting. Sunday night, we don't give a shit. What month are we running this in, Paul? Do you know?
This is March. This is almost 30 years ago. Like, this is like March 6th this was on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's they clearly don't even want to make decisions here because right, clearly they wanted something with Robert and Skippy, but they couldn't because it's Michael J. Fox's show. But then they don't decide what they want to do with Roger, which is this about him still being in love with Elise? Is this about him like still getting over high school? Is this about him like being a millionaire now and with Alex? Like, they don't make any clear decisions. Like, they kind of half-ass everything.
It is so muddy and awfully written. It is just dreadful. They start this bullshit in this next scene of Alex embarrassing himself over Roger. And then we have a Roger and Skippy comparison, which is where we have the seed of what they thought was a plot, and it's not. Followed by Roger exclaiming that he is a bully magnet at school. Sound familiar, huh? Being a bully magnet.
Right.
And I hate his fucking nickname for her. Easy.
Yeah. Here's a question. This is just another little writer's room thing that I would be like, hey, why don't we do this instead? His last name is Erdman.
Nerdman.
Yeah, Nerdman.
I guarantee you they both had those ideas, and it was like two different writers wrote this episode. It's
anyway, I also, the other thing I want to say is that Robert Klein in this episode is great. I think he's genuinely charismatic and genuinely a funny person that you can see that, like, he's trying his best to make this work. Yeah.
Agreed. He is trying his best to make it work. It's unfortunate the writers really didn't help.
Yeah.
This is followed by the Siren Wallet callback, that he's got a Siren Wallet as well. And so he and Alex had that moment of, like, our eyes locking upon each other, like, we are the same person.
Yeah. And then we have this weird scene in the kitchen. Like, now we're kind of getting to what they're now thinking the plot is between his his love for Elise back in high school and how Elise was always there for him. And you get they don't really step like is he back in her life? Like, has he come back for her? Like, to say that he loves her? It's really muddled. And then there's this whole weird sequence of them talking about the talent show. Hold on a second. Keep going. I'll be right.
The whole thing about Eggy, is he gone? Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. I feel so much more comfortable when it's just you.
I know. Yeah. I mean, he's a nice guy, right?
I know,
like,
but
he's
I
a
think
super nice guy.
myself, it's so freeing that he walked out of the room. Scott walked out of the room. Isn't that great?
Oh.
Yay!
Oh,
Scott. Oh, thank God. I'm going to watch carefully to make sure I don't embarrass myself when he walks back in. But Jesus fucking Christ. And he's certainly never going to watch this episode because he's in it.
He's in it, yeah. So we'll get away with all this. Like,
All
we could make the whole episode this. Like, we could get Bryant to just put this on a loop.
Absolutely. Hey, Lug, have a good time.
Thank you.
Enjoy tweeting.
Yeah, congratulations, Logan.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll see you later. Hi, Scott.
Sorry, guys.
No problem.
No, it's fine. You're doing a great job. We're so happy.
I'm
that you're
fired.
back.
Just start thinking of replacements. Get Matt Merchant. Matt Merchant was.
Don't worry about it. You're doing great.
Matt Merchant will be great for this. All right.
This isn't Matt Merchant material. This is more. I'm trying to think of somebody who's sort of like on the same kind of comic scale as you. Do you know the guy Stephen Miller in the Trump administration?
Yeah, he's a funny guy. Funny guy. What the? I'm Stephen Miller. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think he would fit in well.
Well, a lot of people are resigning, so there's a lot of people you can bring in for auditions.
Might be at the job very soon. Who knows?
Oh man!
If you want a female perspective, there's Hope Hicks.
If we could get Stephen Bannon on here, I think that that would be my.
Can we discuss?
I will gladly step down for Stephen Bannon.
Can we discuss Hope Hicks for a moment? Honestly, I don't hear. I don't hear. I've only heard it casually discussed because we're in an era where we must show unbelievable respect to women, and I agree. We should show I'm going to put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah, where's the butt? Where's the butt here?
But there's something about Hope Hicks, whether it be, and I don't want to, I don't want to slut shame her in any way because women can do whatever they want to do. They can do. Women can do whatever they want to do.
Is your wife texting you to stop? What is this? What's going on?
All this nonsense of Logan starting already. Here's what I want to say about Hope Hicks.
What? That she's very pretty?
She absolutely.
Sure.
She's 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She had zero political experience. Her only job experience was started as being an intern to Ivanka,
right,
and grew into becoming Ivanka's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And now Hopi became, at 29, the White House Director of Communications and the right-hand person of the President of the United States, who, here's where I go, we know to be a fucking man-pig.
Yes.
Yes.
I think man-pig, orange Cheeto president likes having a piece of eye candy, and she could be the brightest piece of eye candy in the entire world, by the way, and the most competent piece of eye candy, and the most worthwhile piece of eye candy, and an absolutely brilliant director of communications eye candy. I don't think she was, but that she could have been, but ultimately for President Trump, she is just a piece of eye candy. That's my feeling. And that may come out of my hatred for President Trump, but that's how I feel when I look at Hope Hicks, that there's no woman who would have become that right hand to the president without being as beautiful as she was.
And lack of qualifications.
Yes.
Well, there was person that I follow on Twitter said that, like, in the age of unbridled white patriarchy of the Trump administration, the way that Hope Hicks engenders, for the most apt word, how a woman can be successful in it is to show complete deference to men, be conventionally attractive, and silent. That's it. Like, that's how it works. And you see it with Ivanka being the favorite in the family, as it were, because of her attractiveness, because of her canniness around Trump, and because she knows how to deftly maneuver around these men. She is able to be so powerful in Trump's worldview compared to even her brothers.
And I guess what I was trying to say was, what you said was very eloquent. I don't want to, I don't intend to shame Hope Hicks for playing into how to maneuver around a patriarchal society. I do not blame her. I do not accuse her of anything. You know what I'm saying? In some way, I have sort of a shrug and an admiration for somebody who was able to parlay this so successfully.
Well, it's a dehumanizing situation for women. Is like that like I think the thing that makes you so, like, just like it gets to your core is just, you know exactly why she's there, and it's sad because you would hope that it would be that because of her humanity or her skill set or her intelligence or her acumen in politics, and it's literally because she doesn't push buttons and she's hot.
And that's the reason, and the fact that it's sad is the reason why we're talking about it right now. Is that actually the whole thing I felt to be sort of kind of sad. And I want to say right now, I will be furious if she now spends the next 10 years going around the country defending Trump and the Trump administration as being great and worthy. I will be furious with myself for not turning this conversation a little nastier.
Right.
Well,
give it time. We still have another season.
She definitely deserves sympathy. She deserves sympathy for the culture that Trump creates, and she is a victim of the culture that Trump creates, like anybody is.
Right.
But at the same time, she is an adult, and I think to give her any leeway or sympathy because of her attractiveness is a problem too. Because she is a pretty woman, you start to take away the agency of the shitty things that she does or is a part of. And she's an adult who can make decisions. And for her to be there in this white supremacist, dangerous, anti-woman thing, fuck her too. You know, you can both feel sympathy.
You are part of the problem. Yeah.
And you don't have to give her too much.
Didn't you also feel that when she said that she had testified and had told little white lies on behalf of the president, to me, that was almost like a pretty woman saying, okay, well, I forgot my homework.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, because we didn't get to actually, because it was a closed testimony.
Right. Of course. But that was what I imagined was going on there, was that there was a minimalization of little white lies with a pretty smile and a giggle going along with it. It was just little white lies. That's all. Just little white lies.
Right.
Where are we?
How did we get off on that?
I love what this show has become.
I can speed through this because you know what? We actually did most of this of this first. We find out at the end of this first act that Eggy is in fact in love with Elise Keaton. He does a microphone bit where he does an echo, because he used to do a bit from Yankee Stadium. He used to do a whole big Yankees bit, like the Billy Crystal bits. Robert Klein did because he grew up in the Bronx. He did that, and then he did some 50s doo-wop bit where we sort of preface the fact that he's going to sing like a 50s doo-wop singer in the next act because they were part of a duo called the Doo-Wops. And he remembers the fact that at their talent show, after they ran off stage, Elise kissed him. He wanted to frame it. It was obviously one of the seminal moments of his life. She kissed him.
Good choice of words, seminal.
Yeah, thanks. I wasn't going to comment on it. I was trying to speed through to the act break. They dance, and then Elise snaps at him out of nowhere, sort of like the way Constance McCashin snapped in last week's episode at Mallory, when she sort of like went crazy on it, and she, oh, grow up, Roger, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, relax, Elise. I'm sorry. Why are you screaming?
Yeah, that was definitely. I felt bad for Meredith Baxter because like. She had to make this acting U-turn. It was just like, it was not anywhere in the...
It was strictly for the act break. It was strictly to create tension for an act break.
Mm-hmm. And with that, stop it, Corey. We'll be right back.
Hey!
And we're back.
And we are... I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay.
I made it past.
Did you get the email from HR, Scott, that we...
Oh, let me see. Hold on. Check it.
I want to just take...
Oh. Yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah,
that's
no, thanks for coming in today. But
yeah, we're going to be... Very, yeah, understand. I mean, you make some very good points here. And,
I can say a good possibility. You remember who I had a crush on when we worked together? David Humphreys. He was a very good man.
He still is.
Is he? That's right. You saw him recently, didn't you?
He would be great for this show. He would be great.
I saw him last summer. And listen, Corey, I have to say this, and this is real talk right now.
Yeah.
He was wearing this three-piece blue suit, and he looked so good in it. I literally last week bought a three-piece blue suit just because David Humphrey. I was like, you know what? He looked really good in that. I bet I could pull that off. And so I went and bought a blue suit.
Children's size?
Of course, children's size.
Okay, where do you shop? You go to like Kids R Us or something like that?
No, actually, ironically enough, through a bunch of podcasts that I listen to, it's a company that I discovered called Indochino that is a tailored, affordable suit
for little guys,
for any size.
You know, there's a company that just does clothes online. They may have a store in New York, one store in New York, but their stuff's a little on the expensive side, and it's just for short guys.
I've heard of it. I think I read about it in like the New Yorker or something. What's it called?
Peter Marlowe.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if you know, and then we have Scott right here just on Ventura Boulevard, Jimmy Adams.
How is that? Have you been in there?
They used to have a store at the Beverly Center when I worked at the Beverly Center. They have very nice stuff.
I'll have to check it out. I've been meaning to go get a new suit. So
if you need
honestly,
a suit,
go check out Indochino because you go in, they measure you. It takes like an hour, and then you pick out the stuff and the design of your suit and everything. And then once it comes in, you take it back in and they remeasure it and tailor it and however, you know. So I get my pants all skinny. I look awesome.
Oh, you can get
so once I get the suit, can I come back and audition again?
Of course.
Okay. Corey's firm on the no. We're going with Merchant. You said that in the HR report, so
David Humphreys.
His chance to do a podcast with David Humphreys. All right. So can we just say that really nothing happens until the very end of this reunion scene, the whole act two?
Oh,
nothing really happens.
No, in fact, I wrote down repeatedly 3 words, and it said, "This must stop." That's what I wrote down repeatedly. This must stop. I felt that way when they were in the entertainment portion of the show that had nothing to do with the show at all. So that has to stop. I don't need to take a break for 4 or 5 minutes while you sing me a song that has absolutely nothing to do with advancing a plot.
Right.
No, I just I just want to hit some bullet points in this scene. That Steven, everyone confuses him for some other person that exists who didn't show up, who might have died. What's his name? Jeffrey Wasserstein?
Yeah.
Danny Wasserstein.
Danny
Wasserstein.
But there are a bunch of character actors from the 80s.
Well, I want to talk about that. It was 2 of them But one of them is very special. I know this always happens to me. The first one, of course, is the wonderful actor. I love him, Kevin Dunn.
Yes.
I love him. He's the best.
Love Kevin Dunn.
He's been a regular on Veep. He started as a recurring on Veep, and then early in the run became a regular on it. He's just terrific on Veep. I also remember him as being the saving grace in a terrible sitcom, the only sitcom that Bette Midler decided to do for CBS. And he was cast as her husband. She played a character very much like Bette Midler, like a big star like Bette Midler. And he played like her normal husband. And he was just adorable. I've always thought he was like a teddy bear of a guy. He's just been a terrific character actor.
Yeah. He's great in the movie Dave, too, where he plays the bad guy who turns.
Wonderful Dave. Absolutely terrific. That's the other one I remember him from. And I used to think I wanted to write things for him. I loved him so much. He's such a specific guy. Now, the other one is a guy who pops up at the dance in the second scene. It's Vinny. And Vinny is played by an actor by the name of Michael Haggerty.
Is he the one with the mustache?
Yeah, with the handlebar mustache. Now,
I recognize him from the classic Ron Howard, Michael Keaton film, Gung Ho.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
We do. And Michael Haggerty was my improv teacher.
Really?
He taught me how to improvise.
Is he from Chicago?
He is from Second City, Chicago. He's part of that whole front. Thank God. You know, Paul.
Scott left again, and it's like a weight goes off my shoulders every
I
time.
know. It's like I have a pounding headache when he's in the room with us, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh, come on, Henry, Maisie. I dropped a 20 buy and some candy, some sugar candies for all of you kids. Kids, enjoy the candy and just get Scott out of there so that Paul and I can do one of these decent broadcasts instead of having you sitting there like a fucking jack-o'-lantern.
Like a bump on a log.
Yeah, with an afro. When did he grow the afro all of a sudden?
You know what? If he's not going to do the show, I'm glad he at least did something conducive with his life.
You mean the facial hair and the head hair?
Yes. Yes.
The habit that he has. It's terrific. God bless him. He's a great guy. But I'd consider Joaquin. I'd consider Joaquin Nunez. And not anyone who I'd normally considered for a regular conversation.
Here's what I'll say about Joaquin. I think he and Scott would be neck and neck. I feel like Joaquin would laugh too much, and he would kill all the sound.
You're right. He would just sit and listen to the two of us laughing, which is certainly better than whatever Scott's fucking doing. But it still would kill the comic timing.
Yeah.
I
was gonna say Joaquin.
Yeah. This could be the longest broadcast we've ever done. We could just sort of wrap it up, and then Scott can come back to a fucking blank screen.
That would be amazing. Well, let's talk about Michael and your.
Oh, Michael Haggerty. So he taught me improv. When I wrote down the year because I couldn't remember. 1991. He was working for a company called National Lampoon, which was a spin-off from Second City, Chicago. And they were hiring an improv company out here. And I auditioned for it. And what they did was they gave us 6 months. They cast 6 guys and 6 girls in an improv company. And they gave us classes for 6 months free of charge. So they trained us to do improv.
Wow. Not to get too comedy nerdy. Wait, wasn't National Lampoon its own thing? Or was it that...
But this was the first time that they had licensed its name to an improv company.
Interesting.
So we were licensed by that time. National Lampoon was now a corporation. It wasn't just a magazine. It had become bigger than just that, and so it was a brand. Oh, it's amazing! Can we see Maisie, Scott? We'd much rather see her than you. Oh,
I don't blame you.
Much rather see her.
I don't blame you.
Oh, she's far cuter than you.
She's far cuter. And I figured since I didn't get if we're replacing somebody, Maisie wants to audition.
That's fine. Hey, Maisie.
Yeah, I think she might do a better job.
Oh, she's adorable. Look at her. Oh, she's so cute. Oh, and she and Henry look like brother and sister so much.
They're very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. So so you guys been
we were just
where are we?
We were talking about Michael Haggerty, and he trained me to do improv, and he was a terrific improv teacher, a really heck of a nice guy. He's appeared in a ton of movies, a lot of them Chicago-based. His mentor is Bonnie Hunt. So anytime Bonnie Hunt's around.
Wow.
Interesting, because Kevin Dunn is like obviously like he was just like vaccinated with the bratwurst or something. Like his Chicago accent is just thicker than hell. So it's amazing that two of these guys are both character actors specifically from Chicago. I wonder if there was something happening in this episode in particular. Like Robert Klein was touring through Chicago and was like, "Hey, bring all these guys from Second City."
That was fun.
Yeah.
And of course this whole talent show ends with what you would expect it to end with, which is once again Roger planting a kiss on Elise after they perform a musical number.
She storms off. She's like, Roger, and then rushes off.
Yeah, it's off. So now we go back to the kitchen for what I lovingly will now refer to, Scott, if you heard last week's broadcast, we called the last scene another backdoor finish. That's correct.
That's right.
And this episode does at this point with yet another backdoor finish. We start the scene with Skippy in a completely offensive Mexican outfit.
Yes, Skippy won the grand prize, the trip to Mexico, and he's wearing I was going to say a fedora, a sombrero, and what is the blanket called?
Serape or something like that. Mm-hmm. Just something really offensive. And then, right after Skippy comes in, guess who's at the back door? It's Roger Erdman. We have a Roger and Elise apology scene that seemingly goes on for a lifetime.
Oh my God. It went on forever with nothing really to say.
Yeah, what's amazing is obviously on the ride home, Elise told Steven what had just happened, that Roger had kissed her, and she was like, Roger, what are you doing? And left. And then more or less tells all of her children that Roger kissed her before he gets there. So it's like she just outed that this thing happened. And it's like, I don't know if that's the best course of action. Obviously, tell your husband, but do you need to tell all of your children, hey, my friend from high school just tried to like hook up with me? That seems like an emotional weight to put on your kids that I don't think they necessarily deserve or need.
I thought that almost about this whole thing, it was sort of like, I don't know, there was something that seemed secretive or not secretive, or maybe it should have been secretive, or the whole thing was just sort of like, I was just weirded out by everything, especially when he starts preaching to her that she made him believe in myself. And she says, and you made me silly. This was sort of the moral of the story.
Right.
Yeah, they're like truffle pigs with these morals. Like the moral doesn't have to be even connected with what the plot we just watched was, but they're gonna find it and they're gonna make some shit up. They're gonna
and milk it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those not watching along on YouTube, Corey just tore up his notes from this episode, which is the appropriate response to the conclusion of this episode.
What
it really is.
Shit this was. And you get Robert Klein as your special guest star, and you have Kevin Dunn and Michael Haggerty. You got funny people around, and you didn't use Justine Bateman or Tina Yothers in this episode. And Andy comes in with his typical Andy stuff, and you hardly used Steven in this episode. There was too much Elise and Alex, and Robert Klein was just fine. But boy, they just butchered the story once again.
It was so muddled. And you go back to that scene with all those 80s stars, they were fairly known at that point. Like they had been in movies, they had been popping up and stuff, and they get like a smattering of a line here and there.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah. Well, guys, it's good seeing you again.
You too. I'm glad that you were able to get in here before you come back for the finale of the whole series. That'll be exciting.
And I'm looking forward to seeing who you pick to replace me.
Yeah.
And whoever it is, it'll be a delight, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing a hell of a job. With this show.
I'm so glad you're able to join us.
We value your opinion so great.
Scott, you look great. You look rested and refreshed.
Yeah, it's
far from it, my friend. let's rewind that a little bit. just because I haven't watched the season 6 of Family Ties does not mean I'm rested or refreshed.
In some ways, I'm like a child myself. My object permanence of people when I don't see them is they don't exist anymore. Like they have no lives outside of my life.
Exactly.
Well, Maisie, we're gonna wrap this up, okay? You ready? Let's see if Daddy can do this because he hasn't said it in a while, okay? For questions and comments, be sure to email us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. And we're also on Twitter. You can follow updates at QTWFT. I'm also on Twitter at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler.
And I'm at Corpep.
And be sure to like our Facebook page. We'd like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is an online conglomerate of geek media providing its readers with daily insights and reviews into the geek pop culture spectrum. And be sure to check out, they're an independent publisher, so check out everything that they do and support them. We like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the theme song Without Us. Check out all of her music at perryadams.com. We like to thank Brian Dillon, Fanbase Press's co-president, who also edits our show. And lastly, Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, who designed our logo. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
So, Mr. Jones,
yeah.
Corey and I have been talking, and things were going so well till the end.
Well, they were? I thought I was canned. I would have done a much better job had I not thought I was canned.
He's got a point.
You can't. This has been a wave of emotions of employment this whole entire.
So, Bryant, what I want you to do is I want you to just sort of fade out that whole thing. Just let that all go.
And let's jump into it. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
La 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 la.
Bye.
La 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 la. Bye.